Hi, this is Warren Carr, and this is demonstrating Do Not Disturb. This has been renamed to Priority Mode in Android 13. If you're using Android 12 or lower, however, the name is still Do Not Disturb. I'll now navigate my way to the Do Not Disturb since this is being done on an Android 12 powered device in the way of the Pixel 4, running Android 12 and TalkBack 12.1 with speech services from Google as the powering TTS engine. I'll now move to Do Not Disturb right here within the notification settings found within the system settings.
Do not disturb, on.
We'll go ahead and tap here.
Do not disturb. Navigate up. Button, out of list.
I am now in the Do Not Disturb page, and I'll just go through the items found here and focus on some of those that are of importance. Here are the items that we find within the Do Not Disturb area. I'll put my finger down and go through these items, and then we'll go into those that matter the most.
Do not disturb. Only get notified by important people and apps, in list.
So when we're talking about the Do Not Disturb, we're talking about those times that you don't want any interruptions from anyone. However, you could choose special people that you would like to be able to reach you even at those times that you don't want anyone to disturb you. And that is what we're talking about here. You could also add apps that you think are of importance to you that you just can't do without notifications from those apps. So here are the items that we find within this Do Not Disturb area.
Turn off now, button.
I have mine turned on because I don't want sounds to be coming through while I'm doing this demonstration, but typically by default this will not be turned on. I have it turned on because I'm doing this recording. Next.
What can interrupt Do not disturb, heading.
So the question here is, what would you want to override the Do Not Disturb? In other words, people or apps that you would like to be able to give permission to interrupt or, override the Do Not Disturb. So here we go.
People. Some people can interrupt.
Here we have people, and it says some people can interrupt. If we tap here, because it's important, we can see which people you can choose to interrupt and how you can go about setting that up. Before you have people that can override this Do Not Disturb, however, you would want to make sure that in your phone app or your contacts app that you have set those people as those that are your favorites. In other words, you want to set some people as favorites, and that would mark them as being starred. And when you come back here, when you choose the people that will not be affected by the Do Not Disturb, then you will see whether you should allow the starred persons or people and things like that. Let's go ahead and tap here and make sense of what I'm talking about.
People. Navigate up. Button, out of list. Conversations that can interrupt, heading, in list.
And we have
Conversations. Priority conversations.
You could choose the priority conversations that you would like to override this.
Who can interrupt, heading.
And who can interrupt? Here are the choices.
Calls. Starred contacts.
We have calls, and the starred contacts should be able to interrupt. If I tap here.
Calls. Navigate up. Button, out of list. Selected. Radio button. Starred contacts.
We have starred contacts. And to the right of each of these radio buttons is the settings.
Settings. Button.
Then our next radio button.
Not selected. Radio button. Anyone, all calls can reach you.
So you have anyone, that means anyone can reach you.
Not selected. Radio button. None.
Or none.
Allow repeat callers. If the same person calls a second time within a 15-minute period, off, switch.
So in other words, if you have set some do not disturb rule, and then someone persistently calls you, maybe during the do not disturb period, and it's important, then you could turn this feature on so that if someone keeps calling you over and over during that do not disturb period, it should be able to ring through. Let's go back.
People.
The next item has to do with messages, and it's the same idea.
Messages. Starred contacts.
You tap there to go choose the start contacts or none or whatever that you want.
Do not disturb will stay on until you turn it off.
Let's go back.
Do not disturb. People. Some people can interrupt. In list.
We are back to people, and the next item here below the people would be
Apps. No apps can interrupt.
apps. You could choose some apps that you would like to be able to interrupt you here. For instance, if I tap here,
Apps. Navigate up. Button. Out of list. Showing items 1 to 4 of 4.
and
No apps selected. In list.
there's no app that can reach me during my do not disturb. However, if I want some apps to be able to get through and override that do not disturb, then all I needed to do is to simply tap on this.
Add apps.
Go ahead and tap on Add Apps. I'll tap here, for example, and you'll see the apps that are available that could be added to the overriding of the do not disturb.
Apps. Out of list. Showing items 1 to 13 of 166.
I am told that there are a total of 166 apps here that I could add to override my do not disturb rule. And here are some of the apps.
Adobe Acrobat. Adaptive Connectivity Add Voice Aloud Amex. Amazon Shopping.
So let's say I want to add Amazon to the list of apps that I would like to override the do not disturb, for example. I don't know why I would want to do that, but let's say I want to do that just because I don't want to miss any sales. Absolutely crazy. I'll tap here.
Do not disturb. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Upon tapping on Amazon Shopping, we're now on a page where we have switches found on the right side of the phone, and these have to do with notifications. By default, they are off, and so you need to turn those switches on in order for them to override the do not disturb.
Notifications that can interrupt. Heading. Allow all notifications. Off. Switch.
There's Allow All Notifications.
Notifications. Off. Notifications. Switch.
Or Notifications Switch Off. Now I do not want to override my Do Not Disturb by Amazon, so I'll just go back from here.
Apps. Amazon Shopping.
We're back to the list of apps, and I'll go back again.
Do not disturb. Apps. No apps can interrupt. In list.
The next thing here is
Alarms and other interruptions. Alarms, events, and reminders can interrupt.
here we find things like alarm and other events and things like that. It is important to go in here because here also has switches for things that may be of importance to you. For example, if you want to be able to listen to your book at night while your partner is sleeping or people in your household are sleeping, but you would like to be able to use your headset, then we need to go in here to make sure that we have those things turned on. Or else, while you're listening to something and your do not disturb schedule kicks in, the book you're listening to may go dead. Let's go ahead and tap here and see what I'm talking about.
Alarms and other interruptions. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
Let's now go ahead and see the things that are allowed in here.
Alarms. On. Switch. In list.
Alarms are switched on by default.
Media sounds. Sounds from videos, games, and other media. Off. Switch.
That's the one that I'm talking about. So for instance, if you want to be able to listen to YouTube while people in your household are sleeping, or you want to be able to hear that book that you're reading or whatever, this by default is turned off. And so if you don't turn it on, you're not going to be able to hear what's going on. I've had this problem many times when I'm trying to demonstrate something with my Do Not Disturb mode on, and then I realize that it is not working. Let's move to the next.
Touch sounds. Sounds from the keyboard and other buttons. Off, switch.
If you have sounds that you want to be able to hear, you could turn this on.
Reminders. On, switch.
Reminders is turned on,
Calendar events. On, switch.
and the calendar events are also turned on. That's the last item within this area. Let's go back now again.
Do not disturb. Alarms and other interruptions. Alarms, events, and reminders can interrupt. In list.
Let's move on now to the next item.
Schedules. Heading.
Here is our schedule heading. And schedules are important because then you can set as to when your Do Not Disturb turns on. For instance, I have mine set to turn on at 10 o'clock every night. You could choose which days you would like it to turn on at, or if you want it to happen every time, every day at 10 o'clock p.m. or whatever time that you choose. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Apps. No app. Schedules. 3 schedules set.
Here I have something that says 3 schedules set. I need to tab here.
Schedules. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
This now takes me to my scheduling page, and here I'll see the items that I have scheduled to automatically turned on. For example, I just gave an example of me sleeping at 10 o'clock, or rather having it turned on at 10 o'clock. Here are the items that I'm talking about.
Schedules. Sleeping. On. Checked. Check box.
I have an item that I labeled sleeping, and to the right of that is the settings. I could tap on that settings to either go change the name from sleeping to something else.
Settings.
If I tap here on this settings,
Schedule. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
I am on that page of the scheduling that is called sleeping,
Use schedule. On. Switch. In list.
and I have a switch here that is turned on.
Edit. Button.
I have the edit, which means if I tap here, I'll be changing the name of this schedule from sleeping to something else. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Sleeping. Showing Gboard.
And
Schedule name. Editing. Sleeping. Edit box. Enter schedule name.
so I could change that name to something else, but I'm going to keep mine as sleeping, so I'll go ahead and tap on cancel.
Cancel. Button. Keyboard hidden. Schedule. Edit. Button. In list.
After edit, we've got
Delete. Button.
delete to the right of that.
Days. Sun. Mon. Tuesday. Wed. 2. Fry. Sat.
And you could change that. Basically, you'll be interacting with the clock and the days that you would like this to be effective on.
Start time. 10 p.m.
Here's my starting time, and you tap here to activate that clock. I'll go back now that you understand what this is all about.
Schedules. Settings. In list.
The next item we have here is
Event. Off.
events are off,
Gaming. On.
gaming is on. I'm not a gamer. And below that, we have add more.
Add more.
And those are the things that you could set to override and things like that. I'm going to go back.
Do not disturb. Schedules. 3 schedules set.
Next, below that, we have the general heading.
General. Heading. Duration for quick settings, until you turn off.
In other words, as I have turned on my Do Not Disturb manually, it's going to stay in that Do Not Disturb mode even if I restart my
Ring
phone.
or silent.
So in order for me to have that go away, I have to manually go turn that off. That's what that is all about. But this does not apply to scheduled do not disturb rules that one sets. So if I have my schedule set for do not disturb to turn on at 10 o'clock in the nighttime and go off at 7 a.m., that will automatically turn on, and at 7 a.m. it will go off. That's what that is all about. Let's now move to the last item here, and that has to be
display options for hidden notifications. No visuals or sound from notifications.
In other words, do you want to hear some sounds or do you want to see things visually on the screen when the do not disturb mode is set on? Let's go ahead and tap here and see the choices or options that we have.
Display options for hidden notifications. Navigate up. Button, out of list.
I'll put my finger down.
Display options for hidden notifications. When do not disturb is on, heading, in list.
So when do not disturb is on, these are the things I want to see.
Not selected. Radio button. No sound from notifications. You will see notifications on your screen.
So it says no sounds, but you can see the notifications on your settings if that's what you want. Or the next radio button.
Selected. Radio button. No visuals or sound from notifications. You won't see or hear notifications.
And that's the one that I chose because I don't want to see any notifications or hear any sounds. Because if I don't, and I have my screen reader running and those visuals show up on the screen, of course my screen reader is going to say, hey, I see something here. So I got mine set to none of that.
Not selected. Radio button. Custom.
And the last one is the custom. And here's the information about all that do not disturb and things like that.
Your phone won't show. Vibrate or make sound for new or existing notifications. Keep in mind, critical notifications for phone activity and status will still appear. When you turn off Do Not Disturb, find missed notifications by swiping down from the top of your screen.
And that's all about Do Not Disturb. Now you know who to allow to disturb you and who not to allow.